what many producers regret, and what slows down their growth. After several years in music, I realized one thing. Mistakes are an essential part of the journey, but some of them can seriously slow you down for months or even years. I still make mistakes to this day, that's normal. What matters is noticing them early and learning from them. In this video I'll share things I personally been through. If you recognize yourself in any of this, don't worry, everything can be fixed. All it takes is desire, patience and steady progress. First mistake is underestimating the power of networking. Right now my circle of real collaborators is quite small, and by real I mean people I actually work with, not just sending loops. I write nearly all my melodies and beats alone. For a long time I thought that was fine, but one thought changed my mindset completely. If I had spent more time building real connections earlier, my results would have been totally different. I would have made way more music, improved my skills faster, made more money and grown my audience quicker, had more ideas for content and just had more people around, which really helps in the creative work. The benefits are huge, but we often forget about them just because we don't prioritize them. Sometimes you have to put your ego aside and let others into your creative process, especially in music, where connections often matter more than anything else. Plus, it just makes the journey more fun. My advice? Reconsider how you treat networking. It's one of the best long-term investments you can make. Second mistake is focusing only on making money. There was a time when I made music purely for money, one specific genre because it paid well. Everything else felt pointless, but at the same time I felt my creative side slowly dying. Music became routine, like factory work. I was losing interest in the genre itself, but kept making it just because it works. Then one day, while making another loop, it hit me. This isn't what I want. I wanted to grow, work with artists and build a real name. But what I was doing wasn't helping me grow. The funny thing is, I didn't even need money that badly. So I decided to change things up. I didn't completely stop making this genre. I still liked it, but I quit doing it as something necessary. Instead, I started creating music that I actually felt, exploring new genres, trying new ideas. And guess what? After a while I got back to the same income level, but now I was loving the process. Short-term money can blind you from what you truly want. Focus on the long game, and don't forget why you started in the first place. Next mistake I made is prioritizing quantity over quality. At one point I became obsessed with constantly sending out music. To stay visible, get more collabs and grow my income, which in itself is a good thing. If you want to grow, you need to make music consistently. But my approach was a little off. I thought sending just 1 or 2 loops was weak. I believed the more loops I send in a message, the more valuable it is, and the higher the chance I'll get noticed. So I started forcing myself to create 3, 4 or 5 loops before I sent anything. That mindset backfired. I started getting tired, and when I needed just 1 or 2 more loops, I made them quickly. The results? Boring music I didn't even like. Now I make less, but the quality is way higher. I can spend the whole day on 1 or 2 melodies, but they'll sound exactly the way I want. Grinding without rest quickly leads to burnout, and burnout kills quality. It's great to create a lot, especially in the beginning, but it's even more important to know when to stop and focus on the results. Fourth mistake I made is using the same sounds over and over again. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but it's worth repeating. Almost every producer make this mistake, and I was no exception. When you use the same scenes, samples and presets all the time, your sound gets stuck. Each new loop or beat sounds like the last one. You're technically working, but your style isn't evolving. You're just doing in circles. The solution: simply refresh your sound library. Download new drum kits, samples, presets, VSTs. You can find tons of free stuff on Reddit, YouTube, Telegram channels. Another advice is watch tutorials. See what other producers are using. That's how I discovered many of my favorite scenes, just by watching others work. New sounds means new emotions. New emotions means creative growth. And that's where unique sound comes from, through experimentation. So if you're still using Lex Luger clap, Spins 808, Omnisphere and Purity, maybe it's time for a change? The internet is a gold mine of fresh tools. You just have to start digging. Next mistake I made is not reflecting and not setting clear goals. Self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools for growth. It's that moment when you look at yourself honestly. What went well, what didn't, where could I do better? In our field, this is especially important, because being able to make good music isn't enough. To grow as a producer, you also need to build your brand, grow connections, and share your music. Without self-analysis, you don't really know where you're heading. And sure, a lot of people have goals, but they're not clear. I want to work with big artists, I want to improve my music, I want to make more money. What if you made those goals specific? Not work with big artists, but get a placement with Ghana. Not improve, but make a track in a new genre like drum and bass. Not make more money, but release my first sample pack. A clear goal shows you exactly what you want, and it makes the path forward way more obvious. So don't skip reflection and goal setting. It's one of the most important things you can do for your growth. 6th mistake I made is not resting. Rest is a part of the journey. You shouldn't feel guilty for not sitting in FL Studio 24/7. And no, I'm not talking about laziness. I'm talking about healthy recovery. That feeling of I just need to relax and recharge for a bit. I've ignored that feeling many times. And yes, sometimes you can make cool stuff while tired, but most of the time it becomes a struggle. You feel stress, frustration, guilt. Why isn't this working? In those moments, it's better to step outside, get some fresh air, and come back with a clear head. That will always be more productive than forcing yourself through the pain. Of course, there are exceptions. If a huge opportunity comes, sometimes it makes sense to sacrifice rest. But in your regular routine, rest isn't weakness, it's necessary. It keeps you inspired, helps avoid burnout, and lets you keep creating for the long run. Don't be afraid to take a step back so you can come back stronger. 7th mistake is not putting yourself and your music out there. Being a faceless producer might sound mysterious, but the truth is it makes it way harder to stand out. Posting your music and showing who you are is a powerful way to start building your name. You don't need money, connections, or fancy marketing. So many producers have blown up just by consistently sharing their work online. Just making music, shooting content, and uploading it. It doesn't happen instantly, but over time, people start to notice, because you're showing who you really are. These days, just posting a still image with a beat in the background won't cut it. That format gets lost in the noise. But if you find a creative way to share your art, your chances go up. And yeah, showing your face can be scary. I get it, I'm still working on that myself. But any fear can be conquered. One approach is gradual exposure. Start with easier social fears in real life and slowly build up to the tougher ones. And trust me, showing your face works. When people recognize not just your name but you, it builds a stronger connection, more trust, more attention, and more engagement. Okay, let's wrap this up. If you saw yourself in any of this, it's okay. You can always change direction. The key is to get clear on what you really want and stay consistent. Almost every top producer has made these mistakes, but they moved forward anyway. They learned, adjusted, and kept growing. And that's how they got to the top. Being a producer is a marathon. Don't chase quick results, focus on growth, clarity, and enjoying the process. Thanks for watching. More valuable content is on the way. Bye.